Call this Jackson County Commission meeting for March 9th to order. I'll have a roll call.
District 4, Mr. Guthrie.
Present.
2, Mr. Bibble.
Present.
District 3, Mr. Miller.
Present.
And District 4, Mr. Leavenworth.
Present.
And Chairman is also present.
Quorum is present, so we can conduct business. Have our invocation by Mr. Rocky Harden and our pledge by Mr. Bennett.
Let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you so much for the beauty you give us each day. Father, we thank you for this county and that we live in, and Father, we thank you for all these men and women that are here that are concerned about the ongoings of this county. Father, now we ask that you give these men strength and wisdom and courage to make the decisions that they need to that will be good for the citizens of this county. Father, we ask these things in the name of your blessed Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is approval of the agenda. We have five items on the agenda. Do we have any changes before we proceed? And do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. You'll notice we don't have minutes from our previous meeting. Those are still being recorded, so we'll have that at the next meeting. Have no award presentations. We've had one individual sign up to speak, Mr. Gary Morgan, regarding the tax issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, citizens. I just wanted to mention briefly, give you a little food for thought when you vote on this tax issue. The information I'm going to give you is from taxfoundation.org. You know, it's a readily available site on the web. Now this is not all the cities and the counties, but if this issue, food for thought, gentlemen, if this issue goes through, the city of Scottsboro will have the highest tax rate in the United States, tied with Birmingham and Montgomery. Birmingham and Montgomery also has 10% tax issues, sales tax. Cities like Chicago and Seattle, Washington, 9.5%, and the list goes on. Like I say, it's taxfoundation.org. But I'd like for you to consider that effect if you would. You know, I realize, as I understand the proposal, that it'll be the citizens that'll actually make the decision, and that's most certainly appreciated. But the tax, you know, the view that people outside the city of Scottsboro and Jackson County have about the image is important. You know, if you think about you're a business coming or a individual that is looking to relocate, maybe at the Arsenal, and they're looking at Scottsboro, and they see that the city here in this area has one of the highest tax rates and the sales tax rates in the nation, that can make a difference. So as you vote on this, I ask you to consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have no old business, so we'll move on to new business. The first item is regarding the resolution regarding the sales tax proposal. And before we proceed with that resolution, are there any comments, questions, or any further thoughts on this before we proceed? The only thing I'd like to mention about the tax rate, I know it's mentioned 10% in Birmingham and some other places. I believe there are other counties in Alabama also that you'll find a 10% tax rate. If I'm not mistaken, St. Clair County is one of them, but there are several in the Birmingham area, again, if I'm not mistaken, that have a 10% tax rate, total tax rate. I think, again, what we plan to use these dollars for is important to the future of Jackson County. I think that if we are to do this, this is the way to proceed, my personal opinion. We do plan to have, if this does pass, this is again the beginning of a process. We talked about this back in the budget meetings last year, and I think the ideas for that process would be that we would take this to the community to discuss this, give the information to the people, and of course, give the people the opportunity to vote on that if it passes through all the other processes, maybe by the end of this year. So this is kind of starting the conversation. By passing this resolution, we're starting the conversation, saying that we want to pursue this, we want the people to have a voice in it, and we want to discuss with the people why we think it's necessary, and of course, to hear the response as to whether they believe the same or not. So any other questions or comments on this?
So people need to understand too, they need to see some of the things that's in the resolution, what this will benefit. Has a very big bearing on the outcome of the way facilities will be ran, our fire departments, school resource officers, and our paving, it's an issue. So I hope people look at it all and read it and understand what this is really about.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd like to, one thing I think people need to realize too is we have cut everything that we can cut. I think we've done a great job, for the last 2 years making cuts, for wasteful spending, not hiring employees back when we, when those jobs come open to try to cut our budget. And the reality is if we don't do something, our roads are not gonna get in any better shape. They're just gonna continue to erode away and get worse. I'm not for higher taxes, but, we wanted the people of Jackson County to vote on whether or not they wanted to pay that 1 cent to help do the things that we've got in this bill. So like I said, we're leaving it up. We're not forcing anything on the people of Jackson County. We're letting the people decide and vote on what they feel like is best for their county.
And in mentioning about the budget, I do want to clarify, I think there's a little bit of confusion on the way it was presented. The budget was cut over 20% in the past 2.5 years. The deficit has dropped over 80%. I think the first number we had was 1.4 million was the actual deficit at the end of 2013, is that correct? And of course, now we have a deficit of 350,000, so that's dropped tremendously. It's the budget that we've actually cut by over 20%, the general fund budget. So I do want to clarify that deficit has had a huge, tremendous cut, and the budget itself has had a pretty good cut considering, how, I guess, minimal that general fund budget is. To be able to cut 20% out of it is pretty substantial, and to be able to continue the services and operations we have in doing that. So any further cuts would begin to cut into those services. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I appreciate everything that y'all said, and, this is not a decision that any of us come to easily. There's a lot of talk about raising property tax and some other areas, but we felt like adding a sales tax would tie us better with our communities, because now we don't get any sales tax, and it doesn't help us to promote any tourism or any additional growth in our smaller communities. And the unincorporated areas, we're just making a 7% sales tax, and I just want to make that clear.
I would just like to echo what the other commissioners are saying. We have strived for 2 years to make ends meet. We found that we can't do it unless we cut services or personnel. I don't know of another route we can go, but I am glad that we are putting it to the people for a vote, and just echo what the other commissioners are saying and the reasons we're going forward with this.
And on that, again, on that note too, as far as cutting personnel, a lot of positions we've not filled in this county as a result of a lot of the cuts that we've made. So our people have taken on a lot more responsibility because we haven't filled the positions. So our employees do see some of that additional responsibility, and that's where, as you said, Mr. Moon, if we have to cut personnel, that's going to cut our services even further. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. This will be presented to the legislative delegation and hopefully begin advertising a bill immediately along the lines that are presented in this resolution. After that's been advertised, we hope to see that go through the legislature and give us, the county commission, opportunity to ask the people to vote on this. And again, during that time frame, we plan to get out, meet with folks, and share the information of why it is we're pursuing this. Next item, motion to approve changing the meeting and work session times. We discussed, we kind of changed it back and forth. I think it'd be good to have a set time, and then, of course, we can modify it as needed for special meetings and all. Do we have a recommendation on what time we want to set our meetings for?
I'd like to see us set them at 3 o'clock.
Okay. So meeting set at 3 o'clock. Now, before we proceed with that as a motion, I think the understanding is that, again, pursuing this tax and pursuing sharing information with the public on any issues, we do want to have community meetings, and as we hold those community meetings, those will be held at later times. Is that correct? Is that?
Yes, sir.
So the general meeting time, from what you're proposing, will be 3 p.m., and of course, each month we'll put out a notice, as we have been doing, identifying where our public meetings will be and what times those will be. So there will be some shift when we do those public meetings. But in general, meeting here at the courthouse will be a pretty.
Also, I see the need for the having the later meeting be more accessible to the public. If we get a lot of questions as to whether or not why we're meeting earlier in these community meetings, and we're gonna leave it open to be able to go back
Oh, yeah.
and
We-
change this.
We can always address it. I think this is just to get some clarity, because we've had some back and forth, so this is just clarifying what we're, and again, we can change it at any time. Any other comments, questions? All right, do you want to put that in form of a motion, Mr.
I do.
Okay, so we have a motion, do we have a second? Any further discussion? Okay, and that'll begin starting next week, is that how we want to proceed?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. I will say, what's that? I will say that, beginning next month, we plan to start those community meetings probably every other week. So we'll have 2 meetings, the plan is to have 2 meetings out in the county and 2 meetings here in the courthouse, or 2 work sessions out in the county and 2 meetings here in the courthouse. So, again, we'll get that schedule out as soon as one is put together.
And those will start in April, correct?
Correct. Next item, motion to accept the letter of resignation from a county employee. I think everybody's heard of this, I think a copy of that letter from some. This is from Ms. Slayton at the Solid Waste Department. It just says, please accept this letter as my formal notice of resignation, and then notes her last day. She has found another job with another agency. We appreciate, obviously, the work that she's done, and I think she was very valuable to the Solid Waste Department.
She was.
Had a lot of information. I know it's gonna be very difficult to, get someone with that information, gather that information like she did, but hopefully, as we go through, we can do that. So first, we'll need to, accept the resignation. I would ask that at this time, we not open up a vacancy in that position. I have a meeting, later this week to discuss with the department head how they wanna pursue that. But I think for the time being, we may try to do it with the folks that we have. So if no one's opposed to that at this time, I'll just ask for a motion to accept the letter of resignation.
I'll make a motion to accept your letter.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay. Next item, motion to advertise the county engineer's position. As noted last week, we received a letter from Mr. Widener on his retirement. And, spoken with Mr. Widener, I think we need to go ahead and get this advertised so that we can have someone in place before that retirement takes place. In doing so, you have a copy of the job description in your packets. I wouldn't ask that we approve this job description at this time. This is what's in place, and this is what we use for advertising. But we do need to, I think, have one in place when we set the interview schedule up. So, are there any changes or things we need to, outline in advertising this position?
I would like that we add, the engineer will be a resident of Jackson County or can relocate within a reasonable time frame.
Okay. And as a requirement for this position,
That is
correct?
correct.
Okay, so we will advertise with that. Are there any other things that need to be included while advertised? In general, we'll take it from this job description, we'll add that. Anything else is needed? And you'll notice on the last page, kind of the, some of the requirements, does require a degree in civil engineering, registered professional engineer in the state of Alabama, and some of those things which will be included in that, those requirements have to be advertised. So any other changes? Okay, do we have a motion to advertise this position with that requirement?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, and finally, a motion to concur in the award of the contract for the project, I won't say that project number, for County Road 44. Do you have anything else to add on that?
Yes, this is our next A-Trip project. This is the bridge replacement on County Road 44 over Dry Creek. And I think it's mentioned on here, I'm looking at the contract from DOT, but the total cost of the project is $745,990. Federal money or A-Trip monies that will be received is $596,792. And that leaves county funds due will be $149,198. I believe y'all voted previously, this comes out of 116. And, for that,
That's where we, is that where we put the money from the loan?
from the loan,
That's
yeah,
correct.
that's right, yeah. And this is one I did mention to y'all earlier, that's come in a little bit higher than what was anticipated. And we've got a couple more projects, so hopefully they'll back off a little on them.
The questions or comments on this item?
Once this is awarded, when would they be able to start?
It's hard to say, but normally it takes, after we do it, it normally takes about 90 days, time we go through all the paperwork, how the pre-construction conferences. And I know this contractor, Miller & Miller, they're the ones that's working on the one up at Pisgah also for us, and I know they're behind. It's kind of pretty well up to them when they start, as long as they get it done, and the time, the amount of work days it's allowed for.
The amount shouldn't shift though, correct, even though they're behind this price, is this the number?
Oh, yeah, no, it's good, yeah. And I guess explain the price to you a little bit. This is still it's a unit cost, it's a unit price per unit or whatever, you know. Sometimes you run into stuff on the job and, you know, the quantities change and it could be less, it could be a little more. I know the one, Prisma told me to be a little more, but it's still all covered with A-Trip money. So it's, you know, it could fluctuate.
What's the length of the bridge?
This one here is, let's see, this is right at 100 feet. It's 110 feet.
And this cost just for the bridge replacement, correct? This is no section of roadway, it's just for the bridge?
No, it's all got the roadway and all.
Oh, the roadway and
Yeah, roadway,
everything,
yeah,
okay.
we're having to redo the approach. This is a very deep bridge, and we're having to extend it out and raise it up some.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, do we have a motion to approve and concur in the award?
Make a motion.
Motion and second.
Second.
Motion second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Okay. Concludes the items on our agenda. Move on to our reports. Mr. Manning? Mr. White?
I would like to add one thing to that. We got a concurrence letter. Did you receive the concurrence letter we wrote for that item in the email? We need to get that signed and get a check. We're kind of on a deadline. We need to see this in probably.
I haven't received anything on that yet.
She might
There's
have
something
emailed,
I think that,
she might have emailed it to Hannah, or
Yeah, I
maybe
think it's
copied
sitting
you
on
on
there.
it, yeah. She was gonna send it up here, I think, as I was coming on up, so we just got this kind of at the last minute like we always do. Other thing, our trucks are at auction, are going to sale tomorrow. They have over 250 something tri-axle trucks that's gonna be selling tomorrow in Montgomery, so there's a bunch of them down. If anybody needs a truck, you might go get it, wait before it ends, so we'll bring more, but, if you're watching it online, you know, they always tell us we need a couple of trucks to warm up, and, our trucks is gonna be number 3, 4, 5, and then, so we got some good numbers, and hopefully they'll do good. We did receive delivery of 2 of our new tri-axles, Friday, and we received the, final tri-axle and the, tractor for pulling the lowboy, today, this morning early. So we've got all those in, and hopefully, hopefully everything will go really, really well with that. We did want, unfortunately, we got 16 model trucks in, so we did go up a year model. We're guaranteed what we give for our others through the auction, so that should be fine. On a personal note, I'd like to say most of y'all here know I lost my father this past week, and appreciate all the thoughts, prayers, flyers, and visitation. It really meant a lot, so I really appreciate it.
Right, Mr. Venable? Mr. Miller?
No, sir?
Mr. Ledwell?
No, sir.
Mr. Guthrie?
No, sir.
Two things I do want to make note of. We've had one resignation on the Jackson County Healthcare Authority. That is Harry Kinsey. That position will be advertised, and for 2 or 3 weeks. We'll try to vote on that this first meeting in April. Our last meeting this month, if we have some letters submitted. And then we also have a term coming up on the Cumberland Mountain Water and Fire Protection Board, so we'll open to any letters of anyone that'd like to sit on that board as well. Those will be advertised for the next 2 weeks, and if we have that in by the end of this month, we can vote on that. Any questions on those? We also have on the Jackson County Healthcare Authority, we'll have 3 positions that will be coming up in September, so those are some other ones that we need to be aware of and be prepared for. Okay, that concludes everything on our agenda and all that we have. Did you want to address?
Yes, I will.
So that we can all hear you, I guess, if you'd like to go ahead and.
Okay.
make that.
If everybody can hear me, I'll just stay seated. Okay. I'm concerned about this 1 cent sales tax, and also the county joining this lawsuit against Horace Clemens on this legislative thing. It seems to me that if the law was rewritten like it was before, Senator Barron and Representative Hall wrote it, the county would be better off. And it appears to me, now I'm no attorney, but it appears to me that Mr. Porter is filing this in defense of the chairman to drag the county into that lawsuit, where if there's a loss, then they'll have to pay. If I understand it right, now, again, I'm getting bits and pieces where I can. If I understand it right, the law says that an elected official will be represented on the committee. Now, if he's named Matthew, then Matthew could resign and solve that.
The law states that the chairman will sit on it.
The law state plus, why is, and the revenue commissioner?
Right. The chairman, the revenue
All right,
commissioner.
is the county gonna represent the revenue commissioner?
We can discuss the details of it, because I hate to get in a back and forth question, but the county, we'll go ahead and address anything else you have.
Well, my problem with the sales tax is not that you don't need any more money. I'm not questioning that. I don't know. But I work at the Upper Sand Mountain Parish, and we provide food for folks that when they run out of food stamps, basically it's emergency service, what we're called. Sometimes people abuse that, but if 1 cent, they're gonna run out quicker. There's people in the county that can't buy enough food to them a month, and by passing sales tax, they're gonna get a bigger hit. The lower income people are gonna get a bigger percentage of hit than anybody in the county. If you make $100,000, you don't spend near as much as somebody makes $10,000 on food and the necessities. So that's the number one thing. Number two thing, I don't think it'll pass, and then where are you gonna be if the people vote it down? If you'll remember, this happened once before. Houston Kenner was the chairman of the commission. Every commissioner got voted off. And I'm not threatening, not suggesting you will be, but my point is the people of Jackson County need to be told what the money is being spent for. I'd like to see in the paper what the income was for last year or the last 3 years and what the money was spent for. I think if you'll explain to the people how you say you've saved or cut some 300,000 or whatever it is. We don't know that. We don't see any cuts other than maybe not these many policemen. But I don't think we're being open with the people in Jackson County. And just for coming in here and saying that we're gonna pass 1 cent sales tax. And you're saying you're not for it, you're gonna let the people work for it, vote on it. Well, you wouldn't be passing it if you wasn't for it. And if all of you remember correctly, Steve Livingston, when he was running for senator, every brochure he put out said no new taxes. So I'm surprised that he would endorse this. Okay.
Just to clarify a few things, and then if any commissioners have anything. But as far as the representation, yes, the county will represent anybody on the county side who's being sued in their official capacity. If they're being sued individually, that's a different story. But if they're being sued in their official capacity, they will be represented by the county. The cuts, and as far as the mention of cuts being made, I would just like to say that thankfully I hate to toot our horn or however we want to present it, but the cuts that have made have hurt services minimally, and that's of course why we're pursuing this, because we don't want to have to cut services any further. So I think the cuts that have been made have been very precise and very detailed so that we can limit the effect they would have on the services the county is providing. I do want to clarify, this tax is being presented by the Jackson County Commission. It's not being presented by our legislatures or anybody else. They are a part of the process, and we would appreciate if they would allow us to have the opportunity to ask the people for this tax. But it is coming from the Jackson County Commission. It's something that we feel responsible for. We feel an obligation to move forward with in order to pursue a better future for Jackson County. So that's my understanding of why we're pursuing this, and that's my personal belief as well. You guys have anything to add on that? Anything further?
I would like to add one thing, because you kind of hit on it a little bit about the police officers. In this resolution, you will notice that we have entered resource officers in our high schools. One thing that we're hoping this will do is during the summers or when the schools are out, this will actually put more deputies on our county roads by way of using these resource officers. Helping these fire departments, the funding in these fire departments have been cut significantly. And if our ISO ratings continually to drop, we'll actually pay more money on our home insurance than we will on this 1 cent sales tax. And that's a fact. It's not my opinion, it's just the way it is. And the things that we have listed in this resolution, I would ask that you look at that and read that and see what the money's gonna be going for, and it's very detrimental for our future. That's my opinion.
On the fire departments too, I've had a couple, conversations with some fire chiefs who have, since these cuts and the cuts is coming, has told me that they will shut down. They ain't got no other choice. They can't even buy fuel for their trucks. So that's one of the reasons for this too, is we see that something's gotta be done, or we're gonna see people's homes, lives in danger if they're not, helped to be kept open.
Is there any accountability for those fire departments, what they spend their money on, how much they have in savings and so forth?
Yeah.
So they submit it.
Mr. Hodges can probably answer a little more than I can about how that's done.
If anyone else has anything, I'll say this real quick, and then if any other commissioners. But as far as the details on anything, fire association, how we're involved with that, or the expenses of the county, I'd be glad to sit down with any citizen at any time. If we can schedule a time to sit down, I'd love to share the information of how the process works and what money we spend on a regular daily basis, and how the funds work. So it's something that's taken me a couple of years to understand, but I think we're at a position where I can, myself and Mr. Manning, definitely can share that with anybody that wants to sit down and take a look at it. So as we always say, our doors are open, our phones are open to discuss this, but for something like that, may need to sit down and talk with you so that you can actually see. But we're always open for that, and always open to sit down and have a discussion on accountability and processes, we wanna know if there's better ways, so that's why we always wanna hear what, or have that discussion with folks. Anything else?
I'd like to thank Mr. McGriff for coming, and good to have the conversation. And I don't know how we can better get the information out. I mean, we've been as open and transparent as I think we can possibly be with putting the information out. That, you know, what we spend and what we bring in. And if there's a better way for us to put that information out there, I want to put that information out there.
Anything else? All right. That concludes then everything for our agenda this evening. So, I would like to ask next week, following our meeting, we'd like to see if we could at least have the Public Works Committee together to discuss the reorganization presented, obviously, any commissioners that want to, or anybody that wants to participate in that. But at least the Public Works Committee, if we could, stick around after the meeting next week, so that we can discuss a little bit more depth about some of the reorganization coming. So with that, entertaining motion to adjourn.
Move.
Motion, and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.